Good morning, everybody. Kalauha, Nix Maiskis. Yakima is where we descend from my family. 5 generations ago, my grandmother was a Klickitat slave, and her name was Sally Ann Wannassay. Being a freed slave from generation to generation, I have walked in poverty my entire life. In honor of my ancestors, side by side with them, fighting in victory and in vain, holding on to documentation and history beyond worlds, in pain beyond generations of dispositions of generational trauma that was casted upon me at choice when I had descended into these lands. I am terrified for our people, for what we have been through over the last 30 years. I have bared witness to it, and I was born into our history. It brings me honor to see so many faces because once in my fear, anxiety, sadness, and pain, I could not connect with you and you could not connect with me because our generational trauma is one in the same. And it took me isolation, impoverishment of family and self to bring that lesson home to you all. I understand pain, loss, my elders, myself, my family, because we are one heartbeat. Thank you for the time and the dedication that you all put into our federal recognition. Every single family had to go down from nation to nation and shave down your identity in front of your mothers and your fathers and your grandmothers on the Matisse Road. Matisse means racism and non-acceptance. It means mixed race. It means denial of services. It means we are unworthy and we need to ask for further education in our community. Thank you. So I'm Charcoal Wannassay. That is a preference and a pronoun for identity. And every single one of your identities is at risk in our current tribe's perspectives. You have not been validated. You have not been heard. You've been isolated. You've been defended from your truth, and you've been outcasted. Your culture, your people, your family has died outside on the streets. We've had elders removed from our property and land in which we own. We are the stewards of this Turtle Island property that is in our heartbeat, in our waieksa, in our backbone, and in our sayexia of our truth. We are the Salmon River people. We are at jeopardy. We are the #1 asset to Eilane. We are what they founded their property and their foundation on top of our backbones, on top of our ancestors' stories with their ancestors. Taking identity into credit into one does not allow all into acceptance. It does not allow truth. And that is what is at risk in our identity. That is what they have held captive for a long time. I've seen it on many elders, many families, many names, and many people that can't hold their head up high and love themselves enough to love their brother, their sister, their mother, their cousin, their auntie, and their uncles, and then their grandmothers, because they can't keep their head in dignity long enough not to cry in bed and wonder why their identity was taken from them at a young age. And that is what you all have inside you that they are trying to extinguish. Your personal fire and your dedication to the Salmon River people and the seekers of the Cowlitz heartbeat. Okay, so to ask one person what the vision of their people is a heavy weight of ancestral truth to carry forward with 3,000 ancestors pushing them behind them. And I can't do it alone. None of us can do it alone. And we need open communication with the membership. The first place that I would start would do what I do with my mother. I would start personal phone calls from family household to family household to get an actual survey of the need of the people. And we stop certain parts of the business because the culture is in our family. And our family was recognized without land to show Turtle Island how to love, how to bring in people, how to help other nations, not just ourselves. So yes, we can buy land and we can communicate who we are here, But we've got 574 nations, the smallest one being 6 family members, holding tithings to our history and needing our access and our accountability in disability rights, activism, water preservation, and land rights. There's more than one opportunity to be a native in our country as hybrids. We are the river, the water, the air, and the land. We need to remind each other of this more often, because it takes one moment to call somebody and say, I love you. It takes 10 years to say, I'm sorry. All right, so I'm Charcoal Wannassay. I haven't talked about any of my work history because I disabled myself to save my life. I disabled myself to honor Great Spirit and my ancestors because I was out in colonization alone. I disabled myself to stand up to the tribe and ask for federal funding to help our disabled members and financially assist them because it is what my needs were at the time. I did not have my family in health. I did not have my family in prosperity. I had my family in poverty, fighting in domestic violence, drug, and addiction. And that's fine. That's what made me who I am. That's what made it me able to walk into corporate environments and have 5,000 employees under my belt, who I knew their names. And when I had to fire 500 of them, I went to their homes personally because it was against my spirit. And then I walked away from Verizon Wireless after 7.5 years of Fortune 500 company that was no longer going to align with my Cowlitz spirit. I then continued down my path with my education with many colleges as I left college for my mother's cancer, my sister's domestic violence, and my other sister's domestic violence, and I held my head in honor as a two-spirit to defend the women and children in my home first. Because Cowlitz did not have our back, they had our history, they had our foundation, they had our accreditation, they had our future in mind. And I was part of that. But I didn't grab a hold of it the way that I could have if I had a foundation that some of our generations have today. So I am part of history molding into future, past, and present to remind each other that it is in self-love, dedication, communication, and tenacity that the resilience comes off your back and you become the duck that your ancestors made you, and the water and the tears that express from your body flow off of you into the wish-wish. Become one with each other. Thank you.